Are you someone who belongs to the middle class and facing some financial challenges and misunderstandings that could potentially lead to financial difficulties? You're definitely not alone. This channel is here to help you navigate through common misconceptions that can sometimes trip up the middle class on their financial journey. Let's explore the fascinating world of myths and pitfalls that can sometimes cause financial instability. One common misconception we'll discuss is the belief that a higher salary automatically ensures financial freedom. Come be a part of our amazing community. Just click that subscribe button and let's start an incredible journey of transformation together. Let's take a moment to address some of the challenges and misunderstandings that may have been holding you back. Together, we can create a plan to help you achieve a financially secure future. Let's get started. Number 1, believing a higher salary guarantees financial freedom. You know, a lot of people think that just making more money automatically means they'll be financially secure. But that's actually a big misconception that can get people into some pretty risky situations. Having a higher income is great because it gives you more flexibility and chances to improve your financial situation. But it's important to remember that just making more money doesn't guarantee long-term financial freedom. Oh, I totally get why this misunderstanding happens. It's because our society tends to link success with how much money someone makes. But here's the thing, being financially independent is about more than just your income. There are other important factors to consider too. Let's say there's this person who lands a really good job and suddenly starts making a lot more money. At first, they might experience a better quality of life. But if they don't handle their money wisely by budgeting and saving, their expenses can easily catch up to their higher income. People often call this phenomenon lifestyle inflation, and it can really get people stuck in a cycle of spending more without actually building up wealth that lasts. I have some data from the US. Did you know that according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, when people earn more money, they tend to spend more on things like housing, transportation, and entertainment? It's interesting how our expenses tend to increase along with our income. If you don't make a conscious effort to save and invest, you might end up earning more money but not making much progress toward financial independence. If you want to truly achieve financial freedom, it's important to have a solid plan in place. This means being smart with your money, saving consistently, and making strategic investments. It's really important to have passive income streams in your strategy. Things like rental income from real estate, dividends from stocks, or income from a side business can make a big difference. Passive income sources are great because they can give you financial security and let you maintain your desired lifestyle without depending only on the money you earn. You know, financial freedom isn't just about making a lot of money. It's also about how well you handle your finances, save, invest, and grow your wealth over time. When you understand this, you can make smarter choices with your money. You know, people often think that a bigger salary automatically means they'll be financially independent. But it's important for them to realize that there's more to it than just the money. They should really be focusing on taking practical steps to secure their financial future. Number 2, depending on borrowed money and debt. Yeah, depending on borrowed money and getting into debt can really trap you financially and make it hard to improve your financial situation. This habit usually begins innocently, when people use loans or credit cards to cover necessary expenses or unexpected emergencies. But, you know, when it becomes a regular thing to use funds for everyday needs or to live a lifestyle that's beyond what we can actually afford, it can become a problem pretty fast. Let's say there's someone who always relies on credit cards for everyday expenses, such as groceries, utility bills, or eating out. They might also borrow money to buy things they don't really need, like fancy gadgets or vacations. While doing these things might give you some temporary relief, they usually come with high interest rates that can add up over time. This can end up making your financial situation even worse. Did you know that according to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances in 2019, almost 80% of American households had some kind of debt? On average, each household had a debt of around $145,000. Having a lot of debt can really mess things up, you know? It can tank your credit score, stress you out big time, and make it impossible to save or invest for the future. It's no joke. If you want to escape the never-ending cycle of debt and start making progress towards better financial success, it's important to create a solid budget. This budget will help them see how much money they make and spend each month, so they can figure out where they can save or spend their money better. Also, it's worth considering looking into ways to make some extra money on the side, like taking on side gigs or freelancing. Another option is to explore higher-paying job opportunities. These approaches can help you rely less on borrowing money and speed up the process of paying off your debts. If we tackle this risky money habit, we can really make progress towards getting our finances in order and hopefully move up from the middle-class income bracket. Number 3, putting savings first instead of focusing on increasing your income. It's pretty common for people to make the mistake of focusing too much on saving money instead of trying to increase their income. But here's the thing, this can actually hold you back from achieving financial success. Saving money is definitely important when it comes to financial planning, but it's also essential to think about ways to increase your income. Just focusing on saving without considering how to make more money can limit your overall financial potential. Let's say there's someone who saves a good chunk of their income but doesn't really look for ways to make more money. This person can help illustrate the point I'm trying to make. Over time, inflation can really eat away at the purchasing power of your savings. It can make it tough to reach your long-term financial goals or keep up with the ever-increasing cost of living. Oh, this is interesting data from the US. Did you know that according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average annual inflation rate in the United States has typically been around 2–3% throughout history? It's interesting to see how inflation has fluctuated over the years. If your savings account earns an interest rate that's lower than the inflation rate, the value of your savings actually goes down over time. So basically, even if they're saving a lot, it can still be tough for them to keep up with inflation and make their money grow. Yeah, it's really important to diversify your income sources to counteract this issue. Yeah, having side hustles, doing freelance work, or investing can actually give you extra income that's not as affected by inflation. It's a good way to diversify your earnings. For example, if you invest in things like stocks, real estate, or even start a small business, you can actually make more money than what inflation takes away. This means you can not only keep your wealth safe, but also make it grow. If you find a good balance between saving money and increasing your income, you can create a solid financial plan that not only protects your financial health, but also helps you reach your long-term goals, like moving up in your career or enjoying a comfortable retirement. Number 4, not keeping track of your spending. It's pretty common for people to not keep track of their spending, but it can mess up your finances in the long run. If people don't know where their money is going, it can put them in a tough spot financially. Yeah, this habit can really get us into trouble. It's so easy to overspend, rack up debt, and lose control of our finances. Imagine this situation. Picture someone who doesn't bother keeping track of their expenses. It's a perfect example of why tracking expenses is so crucial. Sometimes people don't realize how their small daily purchases, frequent dining out, or online shopping can add up and affect their finances. Yeah, those little expenses can really start to pile up over time. It can be pretty stressful and make you feel uncertain about your finances. According to the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, NFCC, it seems like a lot of Americans are having a tough time with managing their finances. Did you know that according to a recent survey on financial literacy, only about 31% of adults in the US actually keep a budget? It's surprising to see that a lot of people don't actively track their spending habits. Creating a budget can really help with this problem. Having a budget helps you organize your income and expenses, so you can easily see where your money is going and understand your financial situation better. If you keep track of your expenses regularly, you can figure out where you might be spending too much and make the necessary changes. For example, you might find out that you're actually spending more on eating out than you thought. That could make you want to reduce the number of times you eat at restaurants and use that money for saving or paying off debt instead. Basically, keeping track of your expenses by budgeting is a really important habit that helps you take charge of your finances. It's really helpful because it allows people to make smart choices about how they spend their money, use their resources wisely, and work towards reaching their financial goals. If you start doing this, you can steer clear of the problems that come with mishandling your money and get closer to being financially stable and successful. Number 5, putting liabilities before assets that generate income. A financial habit that can really get people stuck in a cycle of financial instability is when they prioritize their liabilities over their income-generating assets. It's important to make sure you're focusing on building up those assets to secure a more stable financial future. A liability is basically something that ends up costing you money, like car loans, credit card debt, or a mortgage. On the flip side, an income-generating asset is something that actually brings in money for you. Think of things like rental properties, stocks that pay dividends, or even a side business. It's really important to understand that if you only focus on accumulating liabilities, you might end up facing some serious financial challenges in the long run. Let's say there's this person who goes ahead and splurges on a fancy car. but ends up taking out a big loan to afford it. On top of that, they also have a bunch of credit card debt from everyday expenses. Yeah, these liabilities can be a real pain with those interest payments constantly eating away at their money. If they're spending a big chunk of their income on paying off these debts, it can be tough for them to save money, invest, or have a financial safety net. On the other hand, if you focus on income-generating assets, it can really help you feel more financially secure and stable. Having income from assets, such as rental properties or dividends, can really help out with managing expenses, saving money, and investing. It's like having an extra source of income to rely on. According to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances in 2021, it turns out that households with income-generating assets are more likely to have better financial stability and a greater chance of reaching their financial goals. Pretty interesting, right? If you want to escape the cycle of financial instability, it's important to start thinking about ways to create assets that can bring in money and improve your overall financial situation. You could consider investing in stocks, bonds, or real estate, or maybe even starting a small business that brings in passive income. By doing that, people can not only reduce their dependence on debt, but also ensure a financially stable and prosperous future for themselves and their families. Focusing on your assets instead of your liabilities is really important if you want to achieve long-term financial security and independence. Number 6, when you're trying to look rich. Trying to look rich by spending a lot on fancy things can actually mess up your finances and make things worse for you. Yeah, I totally get it. A lot of times, we feel this pressure from society to keep up appearances and show off a certain image. But you know what? It can actually end up causing a whole lot of financial stress and instability in our lives. It's like this never-ending cycle that's hard to break. Let's say there's someone who likes to buy fancy designer clothes, expensive gadgets, and luxury cars to make it seem like they're really wealthy. Oh, they might go out to fancy restaurants and take luxurious vacations just to make sure they look good. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Sometimes people spend money to impress others, but it can end up causing them to go into debt and hinder their long-term financial plans. So I have some data from the US. Hey, did you hear about the recent survey of consumer finances by the Federal Reserve? It's pretty interesting because it shows how a lot of people are facing financial challenges due to overspending and consumer debt. Did you know that in 2021, the typical American household had credit card debt of about $6,200? If people care more about how they look than being financially stable, they might end up using credit cards or loans to pay for their fancy lifestyle. This can create a never-ending cycle of debt that's really hard to get out of. If you want to be financially successful, it's important to stop worrying about appearing wealthy and start focusing on living within your means and working towards specific financial goals. So basically, you got to make a budget, save up for unexpected stuff, invest your money smartly, and make sure you're financially stable down the road. You know, real financial stability and independence aren't about showing off what you own. It's more about being able to handle your money wisely, plan for the future, and reach those financial goals that give you lasting security and peace of mind. If you stop getting caught up in the temptation of showing off your wealth, you can focus on managing your money wisely and create a strong financial foundation for the future. Number 7 is all about delaying and neglecting timely debt payments. It's when you don't pay your debts on time or you just ignore them altogether. You know, putting off and ignoring your debt payments can be really risky. It can lead to a whole lot of stress and even more debt piling up. If you don't pay your debts on time, you can end up dealing with a bunch of not-so-great stuff. Your interest charges might go up, your credit score could take a hit, and your creditors might even take legal action against you. It's definitely not a fun situation to be in. Let's say there's someone who has credit card debt with a really high interest rate. If you only make the minimum monthly payments or skip payments, the outstanding balance will keep accumulating interest. As time goes on, that interest keeps piling up and can really make the total amount you owe skyrocket. It can make it super tough to get out of debt. Oh, did you know that according to the Federal Reserve, the average credit card interest rate in the US was around 15% in 2020? If you put off paying your debts, they'll just keep growing at a high rate. This can have some serious long-term consequences for your finances. If you want to break free from this cycle of accumulating debt, it's really important to create a plan to pay off your debts and stick to it. Sure, the plan should definitely cover all your debts. It should give you a clear picture of how much you owe, the interest rates on each debt, and the minimum amount you need to pay each month. If you focus on paying off your high-interest debts first, it'll help you save money on interest and speed up the process of getting rid of your debt. Also, if you're looking for ways to make your debt repayment easier, You might want to consider strategies like debt consolidation or negotiating with your creditors to lower your interest rates. These can be really effective in helping you manage your debt better. If you take proactive steps to tackle your debts head-on, you can regain control over your finances, reduce stress, and work towards achieving financial stability and freedom. If you put off paying your debts, it's not just going to stress you out for longer, but it'll also make it harder for you to save and invest money. That can really get in the way of reaching your long-term financial goals. Number 8 is all about how we sometimes get caught up in comparing ourselves to others and trying to meet society's expectations. It's like we're always striving for something that isn't really necessary. Many people end up falling into a financial trap because they feel the need to compare themselves to others and meet societal expectations. This often happens when they try to keep up with the extravagant lifestyles of their friends, family, or even celebrities. Oh, this habit can really cause some financial troubles and even lead to long-term financial instability. You know, sometimes we feel this pressure to keep up with the Joneses. It can show up in different ways, like splurging on fancy cars and designer clothes, or treating ourselves to expensive meals or extravagant trips. Let's say there's this situation where someone feels like they have to upgrade to a bigger and pricier house just because their friends or neighbors did it. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Having a fancy house might seem like a way to show off, but it can actually end up costing you more. You might have to shell out more for housing expenses and have higher mortgage payments. It could even push your budget to its limits. Surveys and studies have actually found that social comparison has a big impact on how people spend their money. It's pretty interesting how this consistently comes up in the data. Hey, did you know that there was this study published in 2019 in the journal Emotion? It found that people who compared their material possessions with others were more likely to feel envious, have lower life satisfaction, and end up with more debt. Pretty interesting, right? Oh, and get this. In a survey conducted by the National Endowment for Financial Education, NFE, in 2021, they found that a whopping 70% of Americans actually confessed to spending money they didn't even have, just to try and keep up with everyone else. Can you believe that? It's really important to focus on your own financial goals and values instead of trying to keep up with others and the financial consequences that come with it. So basically, what you need to do is set some clear financial goals for yourself. Once you've got those in mind, you can create a budget that helps you achieve those goals. And of course, it's important to make smart choices that will benefit your long-term financial health. It's super important not to give in to the urge of spending too much just to show off or keep up with others. Trust me, this can totally lead to debt, stress about money, and even make it harder to reach your own financial goals. If you want to achieve long-term financial success and stop feeling pressured to keep up with others' spending, it's important to focus on your own financial priorities and be disciplined with your money.